Hey, everybody. Thank you for joining our podcast, Moms on the Move. I'm Jen Wills.
And I'm Jennifer Sith.
We have two guests with us. They have been trying to come on our podcast for, I feel like, months at this point. We have Becky Highsmith and Lydia Johnson with us.
Hello.
Thanks for coming.
Welcome. Thank you for having
so we are
us.
here to talk about Addis Jamari.
Yes.
I did it.
You did good.
Addis
Yes.
Jamari. It's an organization that helps Ethiopian orphans.
That's correct.
Yeah. So
Yes.
tell us how you got involved.
Well, I took a trip to Ethiopia back in 2017. It was sort of, I've never been out of the country, kind of overseas. I just turned 40, kind of wanted to adventure and do something, And I was invited on this trip and went over, and it was an orphan care trip. So we were able to visit 4 different orphanages in the capital city, Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. And such an eye-opening experience. I'm a mother of 4, and to actually come face-to-face with an orphan was heartbreaking, but yet did something inside of me. And I came back from that trip wanting to do more. So kind of did a deep dive into different organizations that were working to keep families together, because I found out that most orphans over in Ethiopia are not actual orphans. They're poverty orphans, which means they are given up because their families cannot literally feed them. So,
like a quick stat to interrupt real quick, 4.5 million orphans in Ethiopia, and 70% of that is because of the poverty.
Yes, absolutely.
That is absolutely eye-opening.
Definitely. And just coming face to face with that reality, I wanted to do something after I got back from that trip, do something more. And I kind of just did a deep dive and found Addis Jamari. They're based in Raleigh, North Carolina, and they have 2 legs. Their first leg is caring for the orphans. So they have a girls' home in Ethiopia, and they have 6 girls currently in that home, where they brought them in and they have given them a family, just poured into them. It's amazing. And then they just launched in 2019, they launched their family empowerment program. So that's the leg where they want to prevent orphans and they want to keep families together. They want to keep children with their mama, babies with their mamas, where they belong.
Yeah.
So they have 50 families in that program, and most of them are single mom families, but they are pouring into them, giving them life skills, education, meeting them wherever they are, and giving them a hand up instead of a hand out, which is very important with Addis Jamari, teaching them those skills so they can get on their feet and support themselves.
Right. How did you get involved?
With her.
Okay, because you guys are friends.
Yeah,
Okay.
Been friends forever. I did not go on her first trip, but I kind of watched her process that first trip, which was really hard, watching her come back from that and kind of shell into herself and try to figure out what she needed to do and what was going on and things like that. So when she found Addis Jamari, there are 2 moms in North Carolina that started that organization. It started because one of them had the intent to adopt and went over there, and really her heart kind of melted into the fact that I could do all of this to bring home 1 child, or I could pour here and help a lot of children instead of just 1 child. So I went with her on the second trip, which would have been my first time to Ethiopia, her second, but both of our first, with Addis Jamari. And I feel like I had such a different experience because I was, listened to everything that she went through the first time she went on that trip. And it felt like she came home almost hopeless, really, like defeated. You just see evil, you see poverty, you see everything bad, and there's nothing that you can do about it. And then the second time we came back, like exploding with hope. It was different. It's not like feeling like it's hopeless anymore. And one of the neatest things to us was to be able to watch that organization focus on relationships. So instead of, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but instead of having 20 people with matching t-shirts and 45 suitcases roll into a country, drop their stuff off and leave, And then you're dealing with a culture that has nothing, so they're probably going to sell that stuff anyway, or it just isn't the same.
They're not
as building.
teaching them, whereas this organization is based on increasing their education and business development. So then they actually have that structure, to then give back,
And everybody on the ground, short of Cindy or Suzanne, when they're in country, is Native. So they are also giving jobs to, they've got house mothers, they've got a cook, they've got cleaners, they've got teachers, counselors. Like as the program grows, they're able to employ all of their own people, giving them jobs and giving them, I don't know. It's the neatest thing. Confidence.
It's like a domino effect where one thing starts and then the next thing. How long do you go? How long are you there? And what's the environment like for the two of you when you go?
Oh, we have pictures.
The first time we went, it was a week, I believe. So there's a whole 24-hour period that you're traveling there and 24 hours back, including the time change. So this last time we went.
So you probably felt good for like 3 days.
Yes. This last time we went in July, we left on the end of July and came back in August. We were gone for 12 days, and that was a lot.
That was a lot.
It was a lot.
But it was the first time we went too, we dropped into their culture. So it wasn't like you go in and you eat your American food separately and you sleep in your American place separately and you go in an American toilet separately. It was nothing like that. So we really just dropped in with them. And I do feel like that was very difficult. That had some challenges for us a little bit, but I also feel like it gave us the chance to have relationships with these people because we didn't come in better than anybody else. Do you know what I mean? We just kind of, we were so thankful for the food that they would make for us, and it was delicious, really. So I mean, they're wonderful at what they do, and they're such loving people. They open up to you and they love you, and I think that it made it so the second time we came back, it was like seeing family. You know, you're so excited and you're hugging people and you were ready to see them again. And it was special.
Everyone asks me every time I get back, like, how was it? And I always come up with, it was hard, but so good.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to be pulled away from your comfort, from what you know, be on the other side of the globe, away from your kids, everything you know, and go without internet a lot. You're in a third world country.
What about the language?
The language, a lot of them are working to speak English. Okay. You learn English, and that just opens up a lot of doors over there. So, but there are many that don't speak it. So we're trying to learn Amharic, and the kids are trying to teach us at the center, and we learn a couple phrases so we can, but lots of translators, and but it's amazing. They're a very relational country. They celebrate you coming in with coffee ceremonies, and they just love on you, and it's hard to leave. But yeah, it's hard being an American, right? Being dropped into a third world country, seeing third world poverty, and
trying to wrap your brain around it, and then wrap your brain around the fact that sometimes, and I had this happen to me maybe 15 years ago with foster kids, when they were getting ready to leave our house, going in at night and looking at some that are sleeping that are mine and some that are sleeping that aren't mine, and trying to wrap my brain around, why are these so protected that I would give my life for them and nobody could pull them from me, and these just go from house to house to house. And sometimes that is a thing. Like, you come back from that and you're living here and you don't even feel like you should be living here. Why are you living here? And why am I blessed?
Why did you get to live here?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, there's that too. And what am I supposed to do? And what does God want me to do with my life? And we kind of went back the second time with each one of us had a little bit of a mission. So Becky decided that she wanted to raise some money to take the girls and the kids separately on a day trip. And she can tell you about that. But that was amazing because these kids, I mean, they don't get experiences like that. And it was just a broadening of their mind. Like, your life, there's so much more than this little place that, that you're at right now. And I thought that it would be neat to collect Bibles because they're not accessible over there. And we were able to find a Bible that's got English and Amharic side by side, which is invaluable to anybody because English is so important. And if you have a book that has them side by side, you can learn English. So that it really was neat. It was difficult from the beginning because when we were traveling during COVID and you know, that's 30 some hours is a long time to be on a plane with masks and all of that.
Yeah.
And we ended up, it was 30 some hours. There was some delays and we had to land in a country called Djibouti and there were security issues. So we couldn't get off the plane. I mean, it was a long haul to get there. And that kind of defeats you from the moment you're like, oh my goodness, what just happened? But then, yeah, we kind of went in this time thinking we really want to spend time with the kids. We want to get these Bibles to wherever they're supposed to go. And we really want to have some relational days with these girls. And we want to have days with these kids. That's kind of how that went.
So great.
Yeah, it was fun.
And I think when you go on those trips, you could either respond with guilt, like kind of what you were saying, like, oh, why do I have so much and they have so little? And that guilt, like, oh, America, we have too much. And I kind of felt that the first time, but the second and third time, it was a mindset change of just gratefulness for what I've been given and opening my hands and giving back and letting, and giving back of my time, my resources.
But also it was different for you the second time because
Absolutely.
You did find your organization and then you went back.
Right.
So you knew you were helping in ways, that maybe the first time it was just super overwhelming.
Right. Absolutely.
But I felt like even having this conversation, I was like, kind of going to what you said. I feel like in our country, we're constantly looking for like, what's different? What's going to upset me today? Everyone is just, I'm not trying to get on this, but everyone's so sensitive and we're just like, to have a little perspective is so important.
Absolutely.
Everyone is just fighting and it's so divided right now, but to have like you speaking of what people are dealing with in third world countries, maybe that just gives you a little perspective and gratitude.
That honestly, and not getting political at all, but even COVID, stepping out and looking at it from a different country perspective was something that both of us said, man, we just were in a tunnel, and you just kind of have to recalibrate what you're thinking and what you're saying because we do shoot off from the hip so much here and say things that are damaging to each other. And there's so much that is going wrong and so many hard things, but there's also a lot of good, bubbling up from underneath. And I think that finding what the part of that is that matches your personality and diving into that is so much more important than, spouting off on NBC's post on Facebook. You know what I mean? So
exactly.
So, I think it was good for both of us to kind of alter,
in our homes with our full bellies. And so what does it look like for a day in the life of these children? What's their normal look like compared to our kids?
Because of the organization, Addis Jamari, they are all in school, which is something new. They are all in school. They have access to the center when it's open, which is, after school until the evening, where they can get snacks, food. They are able to receive tutoring there, just relationships, friendships. It was neat to see that the friendships that were developing between the kids and just a place of hope and safety, because a lot of these kids live in rougher neighborhoods where people are going to fight over, whatever, because they live in constant, need. And
most of them don't have dads. I think there was only maybe 2 or 3 families in the center that there's a dad involved. Several of the moms are HIV positive, so they're working to, help those moms with their medication. And then those kids, one of the things for me that was just kind of you're processing, you're coming in and processing their clothes and just and realizing that, they're very efficient with what they have. When she says snacks and food, you would watch these mothers painstakingly cook for hours and provide, a little rice and a little piece of fruit and, and then they have a filter system that can give them some water and those, and it just was, it's
so different
than what, there's no waste. There's no just, using something and not liking the Play-Doh color and throwing it in the trash.
Yeah,
None of that. That doesn't happen, you know?
I bet your whole world slowed down when you went there.
Absolutely.
Because we go so fast here.
Oh, yeah.
And the impulses and the thoughts, and they're all lightning fast. Everything is.
Yes.
And you go there and slows
And
down.
even getting from one place to another, we can do that so quick. We have a couple videos of just, if you want to lose your hair, scream, and be on something worse than a roller coaster ride, just get in a car in Addis and go from one place. I mean, there is no such thing as traffic laws.
My gosh.
There's so many cars. There's potholes. I mean, the exhaust, if you're not used to it, we'd have peppermint oil on our shirt. We're like, oh my goodness. It's just, it's a whole different world. And it might take all day over there to
find a hairdryer.
That's a story. But yeah, it can take all day to find a hairdryer. Something that we could do in 5 minutes and have it done. It's a big deal.
I know you mentioned a goat and hairdryer.
Yes.
Let's talk about it.
Okay, so it was my responsibility to bring the hairdryer, and I forgot. So Lydia, as sweet as she is, she's just like,
I have the kind of hair that doesn't really do good without a hairdryer, but that sounds so lame when you're in a foreign country and people, but
we understand,
right?
It's such an American thing. But yes, and it was like day 3, and she was just like, she needed a hairdryer. And so I found somebody in the guest house, and she was American. And I was like, do you have a hairdryer that we can just borrow? I'll give it right back. My friend, if she could just dry her hair after her shower.
I'm crying. Becky's like, it's going to be okay. And it's not like I'm crying over my hair. It's just like a lot.
You're tired. You're overwhelmed.
Yes,
it's
everything.
The littlest thing that sends you over.
Right.
And you're probably tired too.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yes, all the emotions. So anyway, I bring this hairdryer to her, and she's just brightening up, and she turns the hairdryer on like full blast. She's doing her hair, and the electricity over there is not like what we have over here in America, and it's just like
apparently you don't turn things on full blast.
You go slow. But she didn't know that. So the hairdryer dies. And it's the only hairdryer. I think there was another person in the guest house.
I know, and it was not ours.
It.
You know what I mean? Like if it was yours, you just suck it up and move on. Yeah,
right. And she's there for a couple more months, and we're like, oh no, we got to replace this hairdryer. So we went. Probably it took 3 or 4 hours, because you just don't go to Walmart. You don't, run over to your quick, So we had to go find a specific electronic place up on the 3rd floor of this market, after we had tried a couple other places.
But we can't really explain it. Like, I'm holding my phone trying to video, because you're just walking through what we would never walk. It's just so different. It's so different.
So we get there, and it's this hairdryer we would probably pay $10, $15 here in America, and they're wanting $50 US. Like, it's ridiculously expensive. And we're like, I don't know. Should we do it? We're like, we have to replace it. So we bought it, and we brought it back to her and wrapped it up. So sorry we did this.
And it's not like we could go price shop and try to get one cheaper. I mean, it took
3 hours to find one.
Very limited. So, yeah. So that was the hairdryer story. The goat story was from a previous trip, but it was, if you're an animal lover, that is something you also have to process. Like, you kind of have to be prepared to go into a different country. For one, we went into a meat house, and the two of us were kind of arm in arm walking to the bathroom. And when I say bathroom, don't picture American bathrooms, but just a place where you could go to the bathroom in the back of the restaurant. And I just turn around, and there's, the sheep just kind of looks up at us, and the rest of them are hanging on the wall, and we're like, oh we're so sorry. But you just that was one, and a goat being mistreated, and you have to, you're struggling through that, and you're like heartbroken over these animals that are suffering. But I mean, there are people and kids that are suffering 10 times worse than these animals, and the animals are it's just a cycle. It's a poverty cycle.
Yeah. That's so. Yeah.
Well, what was the most impactful for each one of you that you came home with? I know there's many things.
I think that day out with the kids, because it was their first time outside of their neighborhood for a lot of the children. So we got two little buses. They were like extended vans, and it was the first time for a lot of them to get on a van, a big van with their friends, and just experiencing that joy. It was their first time being at the park we went to, and then the first time eating at a restaurant and having a burger and fries and a Coke and a bottle, just experiencing that joy. just in building those relationships with them, because it was at that point, 2 days later, we started a camp with them, and it just kind of started the week off right, where we were able to just have fun, because sometimes you just need to have fun. And, you know, as families, you build relationships with making memories. So that day will always hold a special place in my
You
heart.
can see it on her
Yeah.
You can see it when you talk
It
about
was
it.
amazing. It was truly amazing.
What a gift.
I feel like it's just so eye-opening. And again, I keep saying the word perspective, but it really does. I mean, it just puts everything into I can't even imagine going.
Yes. When you come back, you're changed. You're shifted a little bit.
So what if people are interested in this organization, or even staying stateside but trying to support? How can we do that?
Yeah, you could go to their website. It's www.addisjamari.org. You can learn more about what they're doing on the ground.
Tell them about the Because Shop.
Oh, okay. I've got a shop. So we one way that Addis Jamari supports their programs is selling leather. So Ethiopia is known for their leather.
And we all know that moms love an amazing leather purse or leather ear. You know, like they've got some amazing leather. Yeah, it's amazing.
So they design the leather bags. They have a relationship with the leather makers over there, which is an amazing thing to go to a leather shop as an American woman. But I am the South Carolina distributor for some of their leather bags. So they've got purses, bags, wallets, and they're all handmade in Ethiopia, and the money all goes back to Addis Jamari and supporting their work. So
that's just an example of the business developing that is being done.
Absolutely.
Then they get to sell it.
Exactly. But yeah.
So it's called
Cause.
B.cause. Okay.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So for Christmas is past. For the new year.
Anniversary.
Yes, all the things.
It's a way that you can purchase with purpose. So
Exactly.
when you
feel good about it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Instead of going, to your department store and purchasing a bag that, helps somebody in New York City, I don't know, but you could actually help an organization and carry something that
and it's unique stuff. Like, you know what I mean? These are paper beads that came from there, where and it's all, dyed with natural colors and all the things that they do there, but they'll sit there and wrap them. But they're conversational pieces. You know what I mean? You start wearing something like this and people will ask you, where did you get that? Where did that come from? And you can, jump into a story. And Becky's got all of that stuff at her shop. There was a fair trade market at the Moss Oak Farmhouse in Travelers Rest last Saturday. And it's funny how little bits of money can add up. We had some of our mortgage companies and her husband and my husband and just companies that, asked to, will you just donate $100 or $200 and match gifts that day. And then there was another donor with Addis Jamari that's matching gifts right now as well. And it ended up being near $4,000 when it's all said and done, just in a Saturday that goes to the organization.
Great.
So.
I think when you put a purpose in front of people, they want to jump on. And we're all better together, which is one of Addis Jamari's themes. We're better together. We can't do it alone. We can't do life alone. We know that as moms.
Oh, yeah.
We're always better together, but that's with this as well. We were better together going on this trip, and we are planning another trip, hopefully in July of 2022. So if you're interested.
There is a civil war going on there right now, so we kind of have to see what goes on with
there's
that. Make sure we can
unrest,
get in.
but we would love to go back. It would.
And if someone's listening, I'm asking a basic question for them. What's the safety over there as a woman going over there? Is that a concern?
I have never felt unsafe. We stay in Addis Ababa, which is the capital city.
Okay.
I've never felt unsafe. And we walk the streets even at night, and I've never felt unsafe.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. That's a really good question.
Well, hopefully, if anyone's listening, because I know, going into the new year, which we're about to talk about in the next podcast, but people want to do something and have a goal, and I don't know, maybe this is just speaking to someone. So anyway, I'm glad you're kind of speaking about it.
We would love to talk to them. If somebody reaches out, they can go through the website or contact us at the Because Shop or whatever. And I do feel like she said better together, and you think about even our friendships and things over time, it really especially with what we've got going on politically right now in the U.S., if we can just stop for a second and remind ourselves that we're better together, and that will get us so much farther than it will. It might be hard. There's some hard moments doing that, but it really is so rewarding in the end, and a much better way to live.
Sometimes things aren't as hard as we think.
They are.
Like this is the reality of like the Ethiopia struggles are not usually the reality of our struggles.
The hards are very different.
They are.
Yes.
It's so true.
Yes.
It is so true. And I know if people like sit down and think about that for a minute, so many people agree with that.
Right.
But I'm just glad you guys came on. Finally.
Yes.
It's been a long time we've talked about this.
I know.
Yes.
I'm glad you had us. Thank you.
I know, of course.
Great cause. Thank you.
So anyway, everyone needs to support cuz, cuz. And then
by shopping. How hard is that?
By shopping.
So,
yeah, seriously. So thank you, ladies, for coming on. And we want to thank our sponsors real quick. Amanda McCall with Prime Lending, Blackacre Law, Parham, Archenhold, Southern Girl Chic for dressing us. Obviously, my brokerage Nest, Bodyworks, and we want to thank Penny Posies for the floral arrangement. So thank you all for your support, and happy 2022.